I mean, Chariots of Fire. That's funny. Chariots of Fire has nothing to do with swords and sandals.
Nothing. No.
Welcome to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the SinCast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
Yeah.
Yeah. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Yo, we need some helium.
We're doing the SinCast today, and I'm sure at some point in the past week, you guys got angry about something, right?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
I'm as mad as hell!
You've never seen me very upset.
Lord Jesus! Lord Jesus!
Oh, man.
Really?
Oh, man.
I can
Who's
see
the angriest?
I can see a roiling volcano building up somewhere on this
Who's
screen.
the angriest?
Who's the
I got
look,
a happy rant. I got an angry rant. Which one do you want
happy
first?
and an angry?
I want the happy.
Let's start with a happy rant.
All right. I am geeked about this Tiger Woods, Peyton Manning, Phil Mickelson, Tom Brady golf tournament. Have you heard anything about this?
A little bit.
No.
All right. So it's like May 20-something, 24th. It's going to be on TNT, TBS. It's going to be Tiger and Peyton against Phil Mickelson and Tom Brady playing for charity. And they're going to do all these side bets. And they're going to have mics on. And it's going to be fucking glorious. Like, I haven't been able to see golf for a while. I miss golf. I didn't get my Masters. I didn't get the Players Tournament. I haven't gotten any golf. This is going to be golf. It's also going to be my favorite golfer, my favorite football player, going against a golfer I like, and a football player I used to hate, but generally, think is a decent guy. And Peyton is going to trash them all. Like, not golf-wise. I just mean, like, joke-wise. Did you see that interview they did? Like, they did a like all four from home Zoom interview on ESPN, and Peyton just spent the whole time razzing Tom Brady the whole time. Like, we have to do this tournament in Florida because of Tom's B&E charge that he got walking into the wrong house. And he's faster witted than any of them. But anyway, I'm going to get to see golf. It should be very fun and hilarious. And I'm looking for more people to be excited about this.
Will they be like 6 feet apart and all that shit, or what are they doing?
Now that I don't know in terms of like what they're going to do for distancing or if they're going to wear masks. I'm not sure. But I just think it's going to be for golf fans, but also for even football fans. And they're going to raise money to fight the virus, and they're going to make side wagers. It's going to be like
the side wager thing
of the coolest foursome ever.
There's two things that make me want to watch this: side wagers and the microphone thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if TNT is just giving that full on, like, unedited or anything, but it would be nice if we could.
They'll probably have a dump button for swears.
I fantasize a lot of times about sports that we love being on HBO, so that we can hear whatever we want to. On those things, but and announcers can be all like, "Well, fuck this, Jim. This is bullshit."
I don't know, man. They're pretty loose with that dump button on NBA in particular, and NFL, especially after scoring touchdowns. Like, you'll hear just all kinds of "Let's fucking go, motherfucker."
Yeah,
There was a time back in Tiger's heyday where he couldn't drive. Of course, he could do everything else. He's never really been able to control drives, but he hit one shot, didn't even yell for it. Was so snap hooked left, and he just stared. It was almost like he was staring at the camera and went, "Fuck, God damn it."
I mean, that was literally the only knock on him for many years, was that he swore a lot, and they, had to tell him repeatedly, "Hey, stop doing this."
Well, the funny thing is that he calls himself Eldrick all the time. He's like, "Fuck, goddamn it, Eldrick." And you're like, who's he talking about?
I mean, if you had a nickname like Tiger, would you call yourself that in your head monologue?
Yeah. Yes.
No, I wouldn't. No, I'd be like Bo Cephas or whatever my real name was. I would call myself my most embarrassing form of my name.
No, that does sound good. I actually wondered why they couldn't figure out a way to make golf work.
Well, it was the crowds.
I understand the crowds, but of all of the sports, the one crowd that you're going to miss the least is a golf crowd, right?
Well, yes. The problem is if you go crowdless, the channel like NBC might make money airing a tournament, but the venue won't make any money. In fact, they'll lose money, and the venue can't keep the tournament open just so that NBC can keep making money. So they have to find stuff like this where they come up with creative ideas, and then I think people on the course competing can still be televised and fun for everybody.
I think you're right, Barrett, as far as for the most part, when you're watching the action on screen, the fact that there's nobody cheering is a common thing, but I would miss the all that type of stuff that happens on putts and things like that. So you would miss it at some point. And the lack of crowd makes it seem like what they're doing is not important. Well, of course it's not important, but you know what I mean? It's not important ever. But
those athletes are heroes, Chris.
But it makes it seem like like why are they even doing this if nobody's watching? If you hear nothing.
If I were to rank the sports in order of crowd necessity, I would say that American sports, I guess, football and hockey would be number 1 and 1A. I think basketball would be number 2. I think baseball, just because of the nature of the stadiums being empty so much, especially like midsummer and stuff like that. I think that's probably number 3. Now there is a big gasp whenever when somebody hits a long ball or it's caught at the warning track or out or something like that.
Yeah, but you don't watch enough baseball though. I mean, there are some stadiums that have nobody in them, sure, but there's plenty more have more than that. I mean, most of the league is going to be a decent sized crowd, but yes, baseball really only needs baseball crowds are the best when it's the postseason. And
I wouldn't. Given the current company, I apologize ahead of time, but I wouldn't mind watching a Braves or a Chiefs game where I didn't have to listen to that tomahawk chop.
Yeah, well, I'm a Braves fan, and I would rather I not hear it too.
Or watch a Ravens game and not hear that white stripes. Oh.
Well, the Orioles do that shit too, and I'm an Orioles fan, and I hate that. So yeah, anything like that in sports is terrible. Vuvuzelas, remember those?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Vuvuzelas.
I kind of like those.
Oh man, those things were awful. They were so awful.
All right, so that's my happy rant. Move on, somebody else, and come back to me for my angry rant.
Right.
Okay. I may have ranted about this before. Not sure. We've done 200 and something fucking episodes. I have no idea if I've ranted about this.
Deal with it.
But because I am home a lot now, even more than I was before. I tend to have it on music stuff so that I can do other things, like masturbate. No, like where I just have music on in the background while I'm doing a lot of other stuff, and so I have the MTV Live on, and it plays a bunch of videos in the morning and everything, and then it goes on to concerts and stuff a lot of times in the afternoon, and a lot of these concerts, like the Isle of Wight, and there's a couple others that they play on there. They'll have some band on there. And you're like, oh yeah, they're playing that song. That's awesome. Blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, yeah. And like every single band decides to let the fucking crowd sing the chorus of some of the most popular songs there are. And I do not agree with this at all.
Mm-hmm. You sing.
go fuck yourself with the crowd singing the chorus, just like Steve Harvey was talking about in the original Kings of Comedy, where he's like, now everybody scream. He's like, motherfucker, I paid $35. You scream.
I hate that too, man.
I hate it so much, and it's inevitably the best song that happens. And like, I understand. You're making the crowd feel like they're part of it, that they're part of your band and all that. Fuck you. I didn't go to the concert, by the way. I've gone to a lot of concerts, and that happens a lot. And I'm like, no, I didn't go to this concert to hear a million assholes sing the song that I wanted you to sing. I didn't come here for that. And it's always bad. It's just bad. It's, they all sing in this horrible key and tone and everything, and it's all together. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I'm sure I'll be happy when concerts actually get back and I can feel safe going to a concert. But just watching this on TV, I'm like, God, man, it's insufferable how many times it happens.
The only thing I can think, and this is not a defense, I agree, because the concert is for you, the audience member, not for the band. Mm-hmm. But I have to imagine if you're in a band and you get popular enough to where you can turn the mic out to the audience and they know all the fucking words, that's got to be a really cool fucking feeling to stand up there and be like, I'm a goddamn rock star. They're singing my song. But they do it all the time. They'll do it in Detroit next week, and then they'll do it in Cleveland the week after that, and it sucks.
I just wish there was a way of there would be a compromise there where we can hear the crowd maybe, but hear the singer at the same time and maybe louder than the crowd is. Because I don't know if that's even possible, because you'd have to find a good sound technician to be able to get that going. But it's the point, I understand, like, when you're at the show and you're singing along with the song and you're singing along and everything, and they point to you and you guys are singing it. That's sort of it's a moment for you. But like, for people who like me, who just want to go to a concert and hear the band that I've actually bought the CD of and everything, I want to hear them sing it. That's the reason why I came. I didn't come here to be in a bar atmosphere where people are singing karaoke and shit. So
and it's a marked difference from somebody like, we've seen Benny Folds do his You Were Not the Same bit, whether it was solo or whether it was with the band or everything. And there's a part in there where he actually splits the audience into 3-part harmony. And he's saying, you're going to take the first, you're going to take the third, you're going to take the fifth. It's you were not the same after the... And he does this, he stands on the piano and he conducts the whole thing. And it's beautiful. It's like you're being a part of something, and it's completely different from what you're talking about, Chris.
Yeah.
He's not outsourcing all that stuff. He's integrating all that stuff. It's the same thing. Chris, I don't know if you've seen The Killers at Wembley. That's a great show that they play on MTV Live every once in a while. Play all the hits and everything. But they do one of my favorite songs. It's such a silly song, but it's called Spaceman. It's Spaceman says, everybody look down. It's all in your mind. And there's a part where it's like, and so he does the first part, and then he outsources the and that is integrative. It's not outsourcing. It's not Bon Jovi not being able to hit Living on a Prayer anymore. So he's going to stick that fucking microphone out to where those people are going to scream and blow out their vocal cords.
Jesus, and I would rather hear Bon Jovi not be able to hit that note than a bunch of like 500 assholes who can't hit that note.
Oh man, there's also a great video of Bobby McFerrin at some kind of TED Talk or festival or something, where he like does what you're talking about with Ben Folds, but he does way more than like 3 sections, and he doles out like, different sounds and tones for the audience to make. and he's funny while going about it. And then in the end, he brings it all together and creates a song out of it where the audience is sort of like his instruments and he's pointing to them at the right time and directing. I'll send you the link to this video. It's really freaking cool. But again, that's completely different. That's creating something new with the audience, just taking the mic and bending it down. God, it's almost
Just
like,
lazy.
you know what? It makes me think you're lazy. It makes me think you're hoarse and you're tired from doing too many concerts to get yourself rich.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same. Kiss does that all the time. Rock and Roll All Night. I don't think they've sung that chorus in like 20 years. He's like, you sing. What a rock and roll all night.
Yeah.
They
that's a
see
good
the
one.
set list and they're like, here's what I can take off.
Good rant, man. I've got like a happy rant that turned into a sad rant.
Oh, no.
Or an angry rant.
Roughly.
So one thing, you know how everybody who gets depressed or anxious or like in their own bullshit for a long time, and I don't mean that pejoratively, mental health wise, has one thing that makes them happy. I don't know if it's, I've heard people say that Seinfeld kind of makes them happy for a while. You saw on Euphoria, Zendaya's character, what was she watching? Love Island, like a whole marathon of, and that was the only thing that could really keep her going. When I was really having a rough time recently, one thing that always made me happy and always made me laugh was blooper reels. For whatever reason, I got really into blooper reels. Anchorman 2 has a great blooper reel. All the really kind of shitty comedies has really good blooper reels. Wanderlust has a really good blooper reel. The Other Guys is a great movie that has a great blooper reel. So there's a lot of there's a lot of really good stuff out there. But then like and of course Seinfeld. In fact, Jeremy posted this the other day, yesterday when Jerry Stiller died. That outtake package of Jerry Stiller cracking Julia Louis-Dreyfus up, which is hilarious, never fails to kill me because she just immediately loses it. It's not like she's trying to hold it in and like all this. She just like halfway through his line, she'll break up. I've been watching a lot of SNL where Bill Hader will, like the Californians, where he'll lose it, that kind of thing. And it just always never fails to make me laugh. But then there's some absolutely classic videos, classic shows, classic movies that have none of this stuff that I want to see, and I'm angry that they don't have it. Scrubs, one of my all-time favorite shows that is classic for its improvisation, has the shittiest blooper reel I think I've ever seen for every season. It's like 30 seconds long, and it's mostly Zach Braff like running into things. And it's you got Neil Flynn, you got John McGinley, you got Turk, you got all these wonderful comedians. And
Donald
it's just
Faison.
like Donald Faison. You've got all these wonderful comedians, and like it just lasts for 30 seconds, and then it's done. It's something like Walk Hard, which is one of the funniest movies of all time, and has to have a ton of improvisation. Talladega Nights has a very kind of half-assed thing. It's one of those things where, in Parks and Recreation, where in the show they'll show like 4 or 5 different takes of a line. There'll be like Tom Haverford, Aziz Ansari's character, will name off like 4 different ideas that he's having for new businesses and stuff like that. And it's hilarious. That's what they do in stuff like the Talladega Nights thing. They're not breaking out. They're not funny. It's just like a different take of whatever. So I think especially these comedies, they've got gold. They've got gold. Anything involving Paul Rudd, Will Ferrell, like Jason Segel, like anybody like that it has gold in there, and they need to release it. And I want to watch it. And there you go.
Yeah.
Is the Talladega Nights, isn't one of the bloopers when they're talking about baby Jesus and John C. Reilly says, I like to think of Jesus as an angry beaver. Or is that
yes.
for the movie itself?
Angry Badger. Angry Badger, yes.
Is that in the actual movie, or is it the thing at the end?
No, I think that's at the thing at the end, but nobody breaks up about it. It's funny. At that same scene, there is a couple of those scenes where the kid's like, he's talking to the grandfather. He's like, "Don't sass me. I'll come over there and rip your throat out." And Will Ferrell's like, "That's right, Chip." He starts cracking up. And the old man's just like blank faced. He's like,
I mean, when I saw Pixar creating outtakes for stuff like Bug's Life, where the microphone comes into view or what have you, that's when I started saying all movies should have outtakes. All movies should have bloopers. I know you fucked up. Maybe not as much as other people. Maybe it's not a long blooper reel, but every single movie should have bloopers running over the end credits. And I think it would add to the enjoyment of everything except, really serious shit like Schindler's List, where nobody really wants to see bloopers from that. But every other movie, we were watching something from, was it The Master with Joaquin Phoenix? And
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really dramatic film, but that was really, really fun to watch, to see them both crack each other up.
It's great, man. Like you watch the end, like the blooper reel for I Love You, Man, which is it's a funny movie, but the bloopers are hilarious. Like I said, Wanderlust, you've got Justin Theroux like philosophizing. He's like, I got this in the forests of Nicaragua. And he just loses it. And there's when he's describing Jennifer Aniston's vagina, he's like, her vagina smelled of fresh Limburger cheese. You see why I like these things so much. They were the only thing that really gave me pure joy, and I want more of them. And this is a very first world problem thing, but I want all my favorite shows and movies to have an extensive blooper reel, because I know you got that shit.
Well, I don't know if a lot of film sets are like the only one that I've ever been on, The Last Castle, but there was one scene where I got to see up close a bunch of actors just basically goofing off on every take. And it was just some scene where I guess Rod Lurie or, somebody just said, hey, just go out there and just wing it, whatever. This is the basic information. And like every take, some actor would do something fucked up, like just, weird in the scene. And you just kept just doing scene after scene of like people like, flipping each other off and
this is that's The Last Castle. If The Last Castle has that, all these fucking movies.
What I'm saying, a movie like that has got stuff like that. Some of the most legendary movies have great stuff in it.
Yeah, think about Marvel putting together a master blooper reel from the MCU on Disney Plus. You don't think that would just like
2
break
hours.
Records? Yeah, absolutely, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I agree.
Watch it all. All right, real quickly, I want to get my very weird rant out of the way, my angry rant that's not very angry.
All right.
And as I step up to the plate to defend celebrities and rich people.
Okay. You're so brave.
I think we have a very complicated relationship with our celebrities, and I feel like it's been a current popular thing during this pandemic to shame celebrities for being tone deaf. Like when Gal Gadot and some other famous, well-meaning people got together and sang John Lennon's Imagine. And after a few hours of that getting attention and love, it became, how tone deaf are these celebrities to be singing about Imagine having no possessions from the comfort of their $1 million mansions? And I was like, man, they're just trying to make you feel better. Jesus. I didn't really understand that. I've seen a few variations of that kind of thing. This is different, by the way, from when David Geffen tweets out on his $300 million yacht, I'm just self-quarantining, ha, ha, ha. He later deleted his social media. But another thing that I saw that was like a lot of celebrities are donating for causes, right? And I see a lot of donation shaming. Like specifically, I'll pick on the devil, Mark Zuckerberg. He and his wife donated almost $14 million to a COVID charity. And I saw nothing but shame.
Yeah,
nothing.
It was like that was only like 0.01 of his total income.
Exactly.
Like,
this is the same as me donating $1. No, it's fucking not unless you donate $14 million. You can't just discount $14 million.
And oh, by the way, did you donate $1? Have you donated $1?
That's the other thing I want to come back to is that all these people who shame this, they're not donating. At least I doubt they are. And so, is Zuckerberg a good person? Probably not. Do I want to defend him? Not so much. But there are plenty of other examples of wealthy people or celebrities making donations, trying to do things. Bill Gates was another one I saw, made a donation that people were saying, well, that's only a part of whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay, still, it's $20 million is $20 million more than they had to fight this thing yesterday. And celebrities online who are trying to make you feel like, do we not all want to be celebrities because they're rich and they have really fancy $1 million houses? And so when they try and make us feel better by singing a song during a quarantine, why are we shaming them for being what we want to be, what we all fantasize about? What the hell?
Yeah, and in that case of the Imagine thing, I mean, that you can find other targets. That's the problem.
Yeah.
With cancel culture and all these different things that keep happening is that there are better targets than that to worry. Don't worry about if someone is being tone deaf. I don't think they are. I think they just wanted, like you said, wanted to do something fun. If they sang a song that had, I'm trying to think of an example. I can't think of an example right off the top of my head, but if you're, something like that is not a big deal to me. I don't understand it either.
If the song choice had been "fuck the poor,"
right? Yeah.
Then you've got a scandal on your hands.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't know that song, Barrett?
I love "fuck the poor." Man.
I believe it was Fats Domino that came up with it originally,
and then the Sex Pistols covered it.
Yeah, well, and then Jeff Buckley covered that.
Right.
And then I think the
Leonard
most recent
Cohen came along and covered it.
And then Coldplay did a version just a few years ago.
Yeah.
Fuck the poor. Yeah, fuck the poor,
But
Chris
that was
Martin
more
style.
of an ironic version Coldplay did.
Oh, man. So that's my rant. People who are trying to help, people who are actually helping, just let them help. Why are we tearing those people down? Like Chris said, there's better targets. Let's go after the bad people. Like the people who shoot down unarmed people of color who are just jogging.
Yeah.
Let's go after those
Exactly.
people.
Those are bad people.
Okay, so we have done some recastings in the past, and
we
with
have.
the 20-year anniversary of Gladiator. 20 years! 20 years! 20 years!
20!
Yeah. Jeremy and I were working at Hollywood 27 when Gladiator came out in May
Oh,
of
yeah?
2000. Yeah.
Yes. Jewel came to see that movie with her bull rider boyfriend.
I remember that.
I came to see that movie at the Hollywood 27 in 2002.
So you might have sat in the same chair as Jewel.
It
Yeah,
was, may have. That was, I think that, I'm trying to remember if that was one of the first times I ever saw, we had Star Wars, I know had like 5 or 6 prints or whatever, which was, that was a lot back in the day, but then it started to get to the craziness of where you get 7 or 8 prints or something. I remember Gladiator had quite a few.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm surprised actually that movie is held in such high regard.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't quite get that one. I remember like people going around quoting this movie and everything, and I understand some of the action's pretty cool in it and everything, but man, Gladiator's never been the type of movie that I was like, I've got to see that again. I've got to put that in right now because Gladiator's calling to me. It's got an 8.5 on the IMDb.
Yeah, man. That's
you think it
won Best Picture.
You think it's good, right? You just don't think it's like
I think it's
up
good.
there with the greatest of all time or anything like that.
Right. I think it's good. An 8.5 on the IMDb makes it like it's Shawshank Redemption, and that just doesn't make sense to me.
Now, we had this PlayStation game that came out after this movie was super popular called Gladius, and my roommates and I played it like crazy because you picked your own gladiator, and you would fight in gladiator rings, and you'd build up and you'd win points, and then you could increase your strength or increase your defense. I was a bear. My character was a goddamn bear, and I grew him up to be like the strongest bear in the whole damn game. That game was fun, man, and I would never have played that game if not for the movie Gladiator. But I think Gladiator's good to great. It just doesn't. It's not holding up to its reputation for me.
You know what it is? It's Hollywood falls in love with that Spartacus sword and sandals, 10 Commandments type of thing, Ben-Hur, and there hadn't been I mean, Chariots of Fire. That's funny. Chariots of Fire has nothing to do with swords and sandals.
Nothing. No. There's a lot of running.
Batman Begins.
Anyway, there hasn't been a movie like this, especially a Gladiator movie, in the popular consciousness in forever before 2000, I don't think. And especially not to the level of a director like Ridley Scott. So I think that had something to do with it. The performances were excellent. Russell Crowe, I'll get into if he was miscast or not, but Joaquin Phoenix and Connie Nielsen and everybody else, Oliver Reed and Richard Harris, were all perfect for that sort of genre. And I think it just came at the right time.
Yeah. If you think about it, even though there weren't Gladiator movies, there were a lot of these historical epics. Braveheart won Best Picture in 95, and then you had Rob Roy, same year. You had a lot of these type of movies that were inspired by Braveheart to start doing historical epics again. And Gladiator it was only 5 years after that. If I think about that time, Gladiator feels like it's like 20 years ahead of Braveheart. For some reason. I don't know what it is, if it's because effects are better or if it's cinematography is better or what. I don't know. But I would, just first blush, I'd be like, Gladiator's probably 20 years older than that movie. It's only 5 years older than Braveheart.
That's crazy.
I'm assuming that's sort of the reason that this movie was able to get made, was because it was in that environment. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into our recasting of it.
No stars.
No stars?
I want Bruce Willis.
Not Bruce Willis. No Schwarzenegger.
Julia Roberts. This is bad. Bad for movie stars everywhere.
Because I think we got some good ones here. I think we do. Yeah.
Although Barrett, man, he went down to the nub. Like, Barrett is recasting the donkeys on this thing. Like,
even the donkeys,
the donkeys, the extras. I'm saying, like, you cast characters I don't even remember existing. So I stopped after the little boy because I didn't remember any other characters.
Same here. I followed Jeremy's pattern there. I didn't go anywhere farther than he did. So.
Well, you want to start with me since I went kind of like full.
I think we really should.
Full
yeah.
Monty on this.
Yep.
Okay. My biggest problem with this entire movie, I actually like Russell Crowe's performance. It's probably one of his better ones. He's very tough. He's very good. He's very animated. The thing that drove me crazy about this is that he's supposed to be Hispano-Roman, meaning that he's called Spaniard throughout most of the movie after he goes into captivity. Ain't nothing about Russell Crowe that seems Spanish at fucking all. And I understand that we're playing a part and everything, and we're all speaking in British accents despite being in ancient Rome and whatever. But that always drove me crazy. You could get somebody like Javier Bardem, who is Spanish himself, a little bit on the old side. So I chose Pedro Pascal. Now, I'm well aware that Pedro Pascal is Chilean. He is not Spanish at all or anything, but I think he could pull off Roman/Spanish a lot better than Russell Crowe. He's got the heft that you saw in Triple Frontier and in Game of Thrones and in The Mandalorian. He's got certainly the charisma, and I think he could win over a crowd. I think he would be a great choice to play Maximus. I think he could really get behind that dude. Even more so than Russell Crowe, which, knowing what you know about Russell Crowe, sometimes you don't really want to root for the guy, even though his character is great. Anyway, so Pedro Pascal.
To be fair about Gladiator back in the day, I don't think he had yet thrown a phone at somebody, or at least, at least it wasn't known that he had thrown a phone at somebody at the time of Gladiator.
It's funny. So they filmed The Insider in Louisville, where I was living at the time, and I heard some things. So
yeah,
I was not.
Well, even his most recent thing, that Roger Ailes thing that he was making, like there were stories about him like being screamy and hard to work with.
Yeah.
And some people are just screamy and hard to work with.
He's just one of those.
And there was a story that came out of actually I think that he was directly quoted when after the movie Proof of Life, where he said, I think director Taylor Hackford is fundamentally weak as a man, and probably shit like that.
Wow. All right, so here's my Commodus. I think this is inspired. I went through a lot of people for this. But I settled on, so this is Joaquin Phoenix's emperor character that succeeds Marcus Aurelius after he dies, and I went with Shia LaBeouf.
Oh shit!
And I love this because Joaquin Phoenix wasn't a huge star. He wasn't known for his superb acting like he is now. At that time, he had been in Signs. He had been in several other things.
Well, he hadn't been in Signs yet at the time of Gladiator.
When was Signs out?
2002.
2002. Okay, so he had been in a lot of movies, but he had been Joaquin Phoenix,
right?
But he was terrific in this. But he had this kind of just ugliness to him, like just kind of smarminess and stuff like that. And I think Shia LaBeouf could be perfect in this. Now, Joaquin Phoenix got nominated for an Oscar, did not win. I think this could get Shia back in the game, by the way, if he were recast into Gladiator, into the Oscar game.
Now, I will say that your Gladiator is box office poison already.
Awesome, thanks.
Because very few people know Pedro Pascal, and Shia
his
LaBeouf.
most famous role, he's wearing a mask for all the episodes.
Yes, and Shia LaBeouf is polarizing. I'm not saying your fantasy casting is wrong. I'm just saying that it's box office poison.
Interesting. Okay, so let's go on to Lucilla, who is Connie Nielsen's character. Connie Nielsen is so good in this movie.
Yes, she is.
She's good in everything. She was 35 at the time, so I picked a 35-year-old actress, Keira Knightley, who is a terrific actress, just as beautiful as Connie Nielsen. Has a range of emotions, very good actress. I love her. I think she should be in everything.
Well,
yeah, I love Keira Knightley a lot.
I think she has got that may be the best pick yet that you've made. She's perfect for that role. She could do all the different facets and layers that role requires.
And there's a lot, man. She's recently widowed. She's got a kid that she's got to keep up with. She's in love with Maximus. She's got to fend off her incestuous brother. She's got to overthrow her incestuous brother. There's a lot of shit going on in their character. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
So for Proximo, the Oliver Reed character, who is the trainer, who turns out to be a decent guy. He is a former gladiator that won his freedom. Oliver Reed died during filming during this, right?
Yes,
or right after.
Where it has one of the weirdest inserts ever because he died during filming, because there's that what's that line where he dies at the end of the movie or towards the end of the movie, something in dust. That's it's something in dust. Anyway, he says that line earlier in a scene with Russell Crowe, and when it comes to his death scene, it's like I think they've reversed the footage in some way, and they insert him saying that. It's another take, maybe, I don't know, but it's very obvious because he wasn't there. He was not there for his own death scene. So it's such a weird insert. It's like back in that day in the 2000s, we bring this up a lot. The mom in The Sopranos, Nancy Marchand, died during the shooting of of that scene where she's in the bed and Tony comes in to visit her and everything.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weird, just off kilter reactions because they couldn't really they had to use footage from other stuff anyway, or
all of Leia's stuff in the Return of the Jet,
now that shit's digital, so
Skywalker or the whatever it is. Okay, so for Proximo, the trainer, I'm going to go with Pierce Brosnan.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
That's a good one.
I can see him with a big ass scraggly gray beard, but still having the gravitas. I was actually mad when I saw this in your picks because I was like, oh, I wish I'd have thought of that. Not that it would have been too late regardless, but
you can see him being the type of guy that would win his freedom and have that sort of authority to train the other guys. Senator Gracchus, who was friend of the show, Derek Jacobi.
Yes.
He is the guy that's trying to undermine Commodus. There's a few senators that are trying to overthrow Commodus with kind of some sort of back alley help from Maximus and from Proximo and from all these different things happening. And so for Gracchus, who was played by Derek Jacobi in the original, I went with Bryan Cranston. I think he could pull that off. I think that's a good one. Juba, which was the Jaimin Hansu character. Now, Jaimin Hansu hasn't aged in 25 years. So I kind of want him to play this character again.
You could easily put him back in.
Because he's still awesome. He's still carved out of wood. And he could totally play it. But instead, I went with Winston Duke, who I think has... There's a tiny bit of humor in this character. And I think Winston Duke certainly can pull that off. He's certainly big and intimidating. I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Marcus Aurelius, the Richard Harris character, the OG emperor, who is kind and wonderful to Maximus. I'm going with Ian McKellen, man.
Yeah.
Nobody screams Roman emperor like Ian McKellen. You know, he'd bring the funk to that character.
He would.
Hey, do you remember this? It's Hagen or Hagen. I forget. It's been a while since I've seen this. It's the German gladiator or Germanic gladiator that like starts off being all like hot and bothered with Maximus. And he's like, I'm going to kick your ass and all that stuff. And then he becomes friendly. It's like George Kennedy and Cool Hand Luke or like any other movie that's ever been made where, you know. So it's a guy named... I don't even know who played the original one. I didn't even write that down. But it's going to be in this one Logan Marshall Green, who I know is a discount Tom Hardy, but I think after Upgrade I can see him doing his own thing. And I love that.
It's at this point in your recasting that I'm just like, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know who these people are.
I'll run through the rest of these here. Cicero, who is the servant that we all know. Tommy Flanagan is the guy from Sons of Anarchy that has the scar on his face and stuff like that. He was in Braveheart too. He's the one.
They made a sequel to Braveheart?
Yes. I'm going to make him Timothée Chalamet. So he's going to be the guy that helps get Maximus out. Falco is another senator, the bad senator that allies with Commodus. Timothy Dalton, another Bond. That's right.
Yeah.
Just a couple more here. Gaius, who is another good senator. Frank Langella. He looks exactly like John Shrapnel, who played him in the original one. And even though Frank Langella is 82, I think he's got a couple more movies in him. Quintus, 2 more left. Quintus is the guy that betrays Maximus, then redeems himself at the end. Basically, the Robert the Bruce. Josh Brolin. That's right. Okay, last one. Lucius Versus, who was Spencer Treat Clark. You know the boy. The boy that was in Unbreakable and Glass and all that stuff. And he was he was the Connie Nielsen boy in this. All right. He was supposed to be 13. In this one, it's going to be Jaden Martell from It Chapter 1 and from Knives Out. And even though he's 17, I think he could still play a kid character. And I think
so too.
Who are you casting as the tiger?
The tiger is going to be Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, you're going to get so much trouble for whitewashing.
Who was the tiger in Kung Fu Panda? Was it Angelina Jolie?
I think so, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it was.
It's Angelina Jolie.
Angelina Jolie.
It'll be like a Charlie's Angels type of thing. It'll be Scarlett Johansson, Angelina Jolie, and I don't know. Cameron Diaz.
What's the name of the tiger in Life of Pi? Richard Parker.
Richard Parker.
All right, so I can recast like the entire cast. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you did. You or me, Chris?
You go ahead.
All right, so my Maximus, my Russell Crowe. I am also not going to care about ethnicity here, as the original movie did not. So I'm casting purely on physicality Tom Hardy is my Maximus.
Mm-hmm.
He's a big
He'd be great.
And, he's a good actor. He's got the physical stuff. He can pull off the fighting. He can say lines without wearing a mask for once.
He would find a way.
He would. Yeah, he would find a way. So for my Commodus, my Joaquin Phoenix, I'm going with Luke Grimes. Now, he was on True Blood. He's on that Yellowstone show, which I happen to catch Saturday or Sunday, an entire marathon of season 1 on Paramount Network, off and on. He's the best thing in that show, acting-wise. Everyone else is a little too soap opera-y, including Kevin Costner. Including Wes Bentley. But he's really, really good. And I think he could play this role nicely. And you'll find out later, I'm on a little bit of a Yellowstone kick. For my Lucilla, Connie Nielsen. And I did a lot of age checking here because I wanted to be in the same range. And believe it or not, Mila Kunis is in about the same age range today as Connie Nielsen was when she made this movie.
That'd be great.
In fact, she's older.
Yeah, I think she could play that darkness because of Black Swan. I think she showed, obviously she's done plenty of comedy and romantic comedies, but I think she's a good fit. And Proximo, Oliver Reed, the trainer. Pierce Brosnan is a good call. You're a dick. That's what I put in my notes. I'm going to go with Liam Neeson.
You can't go wrong
with Liam Neeson's.
Yeah, exactly. He's, he would earn his freedom if he was a fucking gladiator. For the Senator Derek Jacobi guy that I didn't really know who it was till you said it was Derek Jacobi, I went with Bradley Whitford. Because I'm seeing Bradley Whitford with gray hair and all this stuff like Get Out, and my wife was watching Mom or Mother the other day, that sitcom with Anna Faris, and he was on a run there dating Allison Janney's character, and he had wild white hair, and I just think he could, nobody's going to do Derek Jacobi.
No.
But
nobody really has the range of Derek Jacobi. I think about that Frasier thing where he's playing Hamlet, isn't he?
Yeah, where he goes, oh, it's Macbeth.
But then, is it Macbeth? But then you see like all the other dramatic. No, it was Hamlet. I thought
it is Hamlet. It is Hamlet.
And then he plays all these other really super dramatic roles. But you can see that he can make fun of himself too. Like he's got range, man.
I replaced Jaimon Hansu with John David Washington.
Nice, it's a good one.
Richard Harris, the original OG Emperor. I literally wrote, "Let's throw Shatner a bone and see if he can keep the cheese at bay for a scene or two."
Yeah, let's see.
God,
I'm willing to gamble.
Craziest thing.
I'm willing to gamble my movie on it.
What? He's sitting there talking to Tom Hardy.
My first thought was even worse because my first thought was, well, who did they replace Richard Harris with in Harry Potter?
Oh my God!
See now, you just stole my thunder, dude.
Oh no!
You stole the fucking thunder. Stole it. I can't even say that now. I've got to change the name. Gotta change it.
No.
Gotta change it.
I wouldn't have said anything if I'd known. I feel bad.
You should.
Well, at least you didn't put Shatner in yours.
There's no way he's going to be able to hold up for one scene.
He's not in the movie very much. You just, we just gotta prop him up. All right, for the little kid, I'm going with Brecken Merrill, who is the little kid on Yellowstone. He's actually Luke Grimes' kid. He's Kevin Costner's grandson. He's a pretty good little child actor, although I will say that show treats him like shit because in the first season, he gets attacked by a rattlesnake and has to kill it with his bare hands. This kid's like 6 years old. And then 3 episodes later, he falls in the river and almost drowns. Some bad parents on that Yellowstone show. There's mine. Let's see what Chris has to say about the Gladiator.
So for my Maximus, my Russell Crowe, I have Adam Driver.
Wow.
Adam Driver, I think, definitely would pull off the intensity that Russell Crowe did.
Sure would.
And maybe
he looks good without
maybe even
on.
more. He's about the same age as Russell Crowe was back in the Gladiator days.
Nice.
On my mark, unleash hell. I can see him doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. And he'd do it in his own intense manner, though. It wouldn't be like Russell Crowe. It would be like, on my marks, unleash hell.
Well, you've got the only American Maximus right now.
Yep.
Mine's Chilean. Yours is British. Yeah, all right. I like it. It.
And you had Timothy Chalamet in one of your many bit characters, I guess, or somewhat supporting characters. I have him as Commodus.
Oh,
how old is Chalamet now?
25, I think.
Oh,
and
nice.
Phoenix was 26 when
Really?
he did this. Yeah. So right around the same age. I think Chalamet, his role in Lady Bird really shows that he can be that kind of a dickhead. So so he would be good. For Lucilla, I have Ana de Armas because hell yeah, I have Ana de Armas.
And
Why
she's
wouldn't
right
you?
at the same age too, right?
She's a little bit
early
younger than
30s.
Connie Nielsen was. She's just a tad bit younger, but in the same age ballpark. For Proximo, the Oliver Reed character, I have Stellan Skarsgård.
Perfect.
Ooh.
Liam Neeson, Stellan Skarsgård, and Pierce Brosnan. I think all these guys have that same thing, right? Like that same machismo that could totally carry this character.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. For that Senator Derek Jacobi guy, I have Sean Bean.
Nice.
And for Juba, the Jaimin Hounsou character, I have Michael B. Jordan.
Ooh.
Nice.
And Michael B. Jordan is I think he's slightly younger than Hounsou was when he took the role. Marcus Aurelius, yes, I did put Michael Gambon in this role. But then Jeremy said, I thought of that first. Fuck you. But I did think of other actors during this thing. The reason why I was thinking about Anthony Hopkins, but the problem with Anthony Hopkins is he's always this fucking guy.
He is. That's the exact thing that I was thinking.
But yeah, I'll put Anthony Hopkins there, and then Lucius Verus, the Spencer Treat Clark character. I have Jacob Tremblay from Room.
That's perfect.
And
Oh, nice.
Good Boys.
Nice.
And he's the perfect age too. He's like 13, isn't he?
Yeah. So yeah, there's some Gladiator right there. I think there's some good ones in there.
I agree.
I think if possibly if a casting director saw all of ours, there'd be a good pool to make a good movie.
I think so. Timothy
Definitely.
Chalamet get 2 roles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, why can't he just play both?
He could do like a Lafayette Jefferson type of thing from Hamilton, right? Just flip flop midway through.
Yeah,
Exactly.
why not?
All right, everybody, it's time to talk about Mubi once again.
Oh, wow.
Hey, you can see how it gets the crazy out of Barrett whenever we mention it. But there's I mean, man, every time you go and look at this site, it's like I haven't heard of that, and you read about it, and you're like, I'm gonna have to watch this probably.
Yeah, exactly.
And so they had a documentary on there. I haven't seen this yet, but I'm planning on watching it. It's called From Caligari to Hitler: German Cinema in the Age of the Masses. And I think in preparation for that, they came out with they put on their site The Last Laugh, an F.W. Murnau movie that came out in 1924, silent film. Not to be confused with the 2019 Last Laugh with Chevy Chase and Richard Dreyfuss and all these people or whatever. Is
that an old man movie? I think
it is. I think it is. This is an old man movie too, though. But it's about a doorman, who works at this hotel, and early on, we're sort of introduced to the fact that he's kind of gotten up there in age because someone shows up to the hotel with this very heavy case that, admittedly, even the customer himself, the guest himself, can't really handle very well. It's that heavy, but he's on top of this car, and it's it's the 20s and all this nonsense going on, and you can see that this doorman can't help him out really. He whistles for some help, doesn't get any, and it's not too long after that we see him being told to go to the office, the manager's office, where they tell him we're going to demote you because of your infirmity. And so they demote him to washroom attendant. And so like he's celebrated as a doorman for some reason. I'm not entirely sure why, but everybody loves him as a doorman. As soon as he is found out to be a washroom attendant, his friends and his family basically ostracize him. And they start making fun of him and all that. And the movie even gets to a point where it's like, it's very dour and depressing. And it's like, this is the way this story probably should end. But the author is going to give you a nice little ending here that never happens. But, here's what we're going to do. So it's one of these kind of movies. I think even back then they realized that, people like to see the sunny side of life. They wanted the fantasy. And that's how they did that. What's striking about this movie though is just how it's made, the sets, the way it's photographed, all this type of thing. It seems way ahead of its time for a movie that was shot in 1924. And these German movies that are coming out in this period of time after World War I and before World War II, and I think even before Hitler has become a thing, is fascinating to watch. And just seeing an era of history in this really, I guess, almost tumultuous or about to be tumultuous time for Germany. And there's so many like great movies coming out around this time. Metropolis comes out in 1926, I believe, or 27, somewhere around there. You have The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, which we referred to in that documentary. A lot of these movies are coming out and are like really big, influential movies that have come out over the years. Movies that that directors that we know and love tried to emulate and pattern their own careers after. So Last Laugh is good.
Awesome.
Interesting. So I went the new wave route, and I went new wave route. So I've been trying to catch up on the classic directors, Hitchcock, and Jean-Luc Godard is one of the ones that I've seen enough to where I really, really enjoy his aesthetic, his use of color, his use of naturalistic performances. I like his style. And so I found out that there's two Godard movies on Mubi right now. La Chinoise is the one that I watched, and Le Guy Savoie is another one. The first one is from 1967. The last one is 1969. Throughout the 60s, he did the total opposite of Stanley Kubrick. He made 17 movies in the 60s.
Wow.
I think even today he makes a crazy amount of movies.
You look at his IMDb, it is 128 credits as director. He's already made three. Well, he made 3 movies in 2018.
He's definitely not what you would call a perfectionist when it comes to.
No. I'm glad you said that, because he is the antithesis of somebody like Stanley Kubrick. What this La Chinoise movie is, it's based off of a Dostoevsky book about a Soviet revolution, a communist revolution, and it takes place in downtown Paris. And it's full of ideas, and the ideas are honestly a little bit pretentious. The way that they these white people, privileged kids that have just graduated university, are revolutionized and want to use violence to take down the man, that kind of thing, is pretentious. But it's also, I think it's supposed to be, but these kids will piss you off. And you're right, he doesn't linger on shots. He doesn't frame it perfectly all the time. He doesn't do the best sound. He doesn't do the best cinematography all the time. But the ideas in this thing, that's what's so very European and so very French about this, that I think, I mean, coming from an American point of view, it's very, very interesting to me. These kids are planning. You know, it's all about like Viva la Revolution. You remember Life of Brian? You guys have seen Life of Brian, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so you have John Cleese as the leader of the Judean People's Front, and they have their own thing, and they're against the Roman government and everything. And then they look at the one guy over there that's sitting, he's the People's Front of Judea, and they all stand up and like flip him off and go, "Splitter!" That's what these kids are, right? They're like one of the kids comes up and he's been beaten up, and one of his friends says, "Was it fascists?" And he was like, "No, it was like the Marxists. It was like the other progressive leftist thing that doesn't like our progressive leftist thing." So they beat him up.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And I think it's played for comedy in that. But you know, there's some interesting choices made in this movie. This movie blew my mind in a way that I don't even know if I really enjoyed watching it, but it definitely did make me think. There's a point where the main woman is on the train. The main they're a terrorist group, and she's on the train with this guy who's gone through the Algerian conflict and has been arrested for his quote crimes and everything. And she says, "Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take out the universities by bombs. We're going to kill people. We're going to kill a lot of people. If there's no school, if there's no people, there's nobody to go to school, and the systems will die." And this guy, this wise person, says, "What are you going to do after that?" And she starts on this like kind of babbling, I'll say it, Trumpish type of like, you know, just babbling until the person gets tired of listening to you. And he says, "That doesn't answer my question. What is the next thing that you're going to do?" She says, "Well, it doesn't matter what we're going to do. All I care about is changing things. There is no other plan." And he gets her in her own bullshit. And I love that kind of thing. And this is just a very cool Godard late 60s snapshot of that reality that I really enjoyed, and I would recommend very much.
All right.
All right.
That's
awesome.
good stuff.
Yeah,
Now, how do people get this stuff?
So, okay. So you get on your internet. Okay. Everybody with me right now?
I'm writing this down.
You write it down on a piece of paper and then get on
That's
your
right.
internet later on.
That's right.
So you go to mubi.com/cinemasins, and then you get 30 days free.
Free.
Wow.
Free.
That was a pause for effect.
Yeah,
That's
it
right,
was.
baby. That's free. 30 days. You can see all kinds of stuff. We were talking in our previous bracket about the best films of the last decade about Under the Skin. You guys remember Under the Skin with Scarlett Johansson? Jonathan Glazer, who directed that movie, also has a short film called The Fall in this current lineup that just posted a couple of days ago. Short film, 6 minutes, but it's very affecting. Very, very cool. Great score. I would totally recommend. Chris, I think you would like this a lot. It's very quick, but very, very fun. You get access to all that stuff, man. Where else are you going to watch The Fall from Jonathan Glazer, a 6-minute short? Where else are you going to find these Godard pieces that are easily accessible? 30 days free, Mubi.com/Cinemasins. 30 days. What else do you have to do, people? You are sitting at home doing who knows what. I tell you what you should be doing. You go to Mubi.com/Cinemasins. You get some free movies, and it's awesome. And do it. I'm sorry I'm yelling, but do it.
I agree. Let's go on to some recommends and warns.
Totes amazeballs.
It won the Academy Award.
Oh, for what?
For best movie ever made.
Warns and recommends. That's the new theme song for that, by the way.
Nice.
I tell you what, I there's a movie that I've seen a couple of times, but I hadn't seen in a while. I've got the Criterion collection of this that has been sitting around on my shelf for a long time. Brian De Palma's Blowout.
Oh,
nice.
Ooh.
And this movie is really good. It's probably one of De Palma. It's got to be in his top 3 all-time movies he's ever made. It is.
What would you say are the other two? Just out of curiosity.
Well, I would not put Scarface in that top three.
Of course. Would you put Mission Impossible up there?
I would probably put Mission Impossible in there, and I would put The Untouchables in there. The Untouchables is probably number one, and then you have to do Mission Impossible or Blowout. But for those of you unfamiliar with the story of Blowout, it's about this movie is way better than I thought it was than when I first saw it way back in whenever I saw it. But because it just was way darker than I remember it being. But for those of you not familiar with the story of Blowout, it's about a guy who does sound for Hollywood films. He goes around and like records actual sounds in nature and stuff like that to get those perfect sounds for movies. And I guess that would be what a Foley artist does.
Mm-hmm.
So like the beginning of this movie is very Halloween inspired. You start off, you're going, what the fuck is this all about? Because it's like this stalker killer like going around this sorority or whatever, and there's like all these women like in their like lingerie, and like there's women having sex and doing drugs and all this stuff, and there's this obviously a killer wandering around their building and everything. And you're like, God, I was sitting there like I had not seen Blowout in forever. I was like, I don't remember this being even part of the movie. How does this part of the movie? And it turns out it's a big play on you, the audience. It's the movie that he's adding sounds to. And there's a scene at the very end of the sequence where the killer goes into a shower and wants to kill the obviously the very naked woman in the shower, and her scream is just horrible. It's like, ooh, it's almost like that. and so like the director turns to Travolta, who is the Foley artist guy, and he's like, we're gonna have to do something about that. And he's like, oh yeah, we'll get on this. But he goes out and he's just recording stuff in nature and everything. He's actually like very all up in your business about it too. He'll like go up. He doesn't care. He's going up to people with putting microphone in it and everything. He's like using his little I don't know. It's like a gunshot microphone type of thing. There's these people who are like making out near a bridge, and he's like pointed the microphone towards them to get their dialogue and everything, and just sounds like while he's doing this, a car going across this bridge has a blowout, and the car goes into the river, and he's like, oh shit, and he jumps down in the river and saves one person in that wreck, and it's Nancy Allen, who you may recognize from RoboCop as the and Nancy Allen used to be married to Brian De Palma. He saves her, and we find out that she was in the car with the governor of Pennsylvania, I believe it is. She was in the car with the governor of Pennsylvania, and there are people who don't want anybody to know that the governor of Pennsylvania was in that car. And there's this unraveling mystery that goes along with it. Travolta, obviously, as a sound guy, wants to figure out if there are more, if there's more to what he's recorded that will give him more information. And one of the big things that he knows is that there's definitely a gunshot before the blowout. And he is now going back and forth. And at some point, Dennis Franz shows up in this movie, and he's like the guy who he's actually shot footage of the car. So like there's a point where Travolta can actually sync up the sound with the images that Dennis Franz took. And so he's like trying to match that up perfectly and everything. The movie is like a sort of it's sort of like a movie lover's mystery movie, because it shows you how films, it's how films are made in a way, and it shows you how sometimes things kind of if you need the appropriate context to really know what's going on in a scene and what's going on in real life or whatever. And there's so many twists and turns in this whole thing. It's got one of the darkest endings I have ever seen in a movie.
Wow.
I mean, it's very dark. If for that alone, you should watch Blowout. But there's also John Lithgow is in this movie. Who else is in it? I can't remember anybody else. But you have Travolta in a time before he became like this weird Travolta we know. That's messing up Idina Menzel's name and all sorts of other.
Such a transition in early Travolta. This is 81, so like Saturday Night Fever, Grease, like, and then up until Look Who's Talking, essentially, right? There was a whole different Travolta, and then there was comedic Travolta, and then there was post Pulp Fiction Travolta,
right? And there was somewhere along the way of post Pulp Fiction, something happened with him that's just kind of a little, it's just something weird. We don't know. We can't put our fingers on it. But anyway, this is Travolta like at his best. This is like great Travolta stuff. I think Tarantino thinks that this is De Palma's best film he's ever made. And he did cast Travolta based on Blowout. So yeah, I highly recommend it. Like I said, I had seen it a couple of times before this, but I really, really appreciate it now that I've seen it again.
You may have to loan that to us, because I just Googled and it doesn't look like it's on any of the streaming services.
Yeah, I'll have to loan that to you probably.
I am very curious about checking that out, because I've never seen it, and I consider De Palma one of my favorite directors, so I need to write that. Wrong.
It's got some real classic De Palma stuff. There's a lot of split screen stuff in it. There's one split screen in there that I thought was particularly effective, because there's a point where Travolta's doing his work, doing some sound work, and there's a TV that the right side of the screen shows up, and so he's on the left, he's doing his thing, and then on the right side there's a TV screen going over the news and everything. But it feels like a very natural split screen, because once they take the wide shot, you see Travolta on the left and you see the TV over on the right, and it's very natural. It's like, it's one of the few times that I felt De Palma use. I love that split screen thing that De Palma does, by the way. I love it every time he does it, but it's one of the few times where it seems organic, more than him just doing a thing where it's like, here's something cool that I'm known for that I'll do in this movie.
What does it resolve? Like, does it like seamlessly like turn into a wide shot?
It's just a cut, but like from the split screen, when it cuts to the wide shot, you're like, oh yeah, that whole time. So, and the detail that I didn't mention, there's a wall. There's a wall on the right side, and the TV's in front of it, and he is to the left and in front of that wall. And so like there's the wall actually feels like he doesn't do that in the split screen. It's just that when it cuts to the wide shot, you're like, oh yeah, that's a very natural way to do that split screen, because they are already in that kind of a split screen type of world there. The movie, I don't know how much the movie Blow Up has to do with Blowout. I know that Blow Up has the same sort of setup, that a guy who's a photographer takes a bunch of pictures of somebody, and he thinks he may have taken a picture of a murder. And so the whole movie is him going and trying to figure out if one of his pictures reveals the truth. The movies have only really that in common, though. Like somebody who's an amateur goes out, or maybe a professional goes out and does his everyday work, and maybe caught a murder or caught something on film or whatever. That's the only place where those movies like really are the same, and their titles, obviously. But I'm sure De Palma, was playing on that film a little bit too.
I think the film Blow Job borrows a lot from
it does. It
from
does.
those two.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about a job.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to. But they have to.
Yes.
Can't even finish it.
Yeah. Can't even finish the blowjob.
It's like the Italian Job.
Yes.
mixed with blowout.
Yeah. Right.
It's about never mind.
The Italian blow.
Yes.
Jesus.
All right, Barrett, you got to recommend me. What's up?
I got a really good recommend that I've been recommended for a long time, and I finally pulled the trigger on it. It's Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
This girl is a portrait of a lady on fire.
Exactly. That song has been playing in my head for the last few days. Came out last year, was up for a lot of awards, especially internationally. It's a French movie, and came super, super highly recommended. Chris, have you seen this yet?
I have not seen this.
Yeah, this got a lot of great reviews, and I've always wanted to watch it just because the trailer is fantastic. It looks like the performances are great, and it's a very small cast. It's made up of all women except for a brief cameo from one guy that transports this woman, this painter, to this estate in northern France to paint this woman before she gets married to some sort of, as you say, Prince Hufflepuff or whatever, Huffy Pants or whatever it is. But first, the portrait has to be done. And she doesn't want her portrait to be done, so this is done in secret. She hires this woman, this painter, to be her companion, and that's how she gets into this woman's life. And it turns into a traditional love story. A love story with two women. It is not salacious. It is not skeezy. It is directed by a woman. I could pronounce her name, but I'll butcher it. Céline Sciamma. I'll say that, I guess. Noémie Merlan is one woman, and Adèle Haenel is the other woman. And it's terrific. This movie lived up to everything that everybody said. There's no score to it except for this musical interlude in the middle of it that will take your breath away. Cinematography is outstanding. The two leads will make you fall in love with them. The ending to this, you guys have both seen Call Me By Your Name, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny. Chris and I went to see Call Me By Your Name, and as the credits are rolling, typically I think Chris, we kind of get up and start to get out when credits are rolling. But there's in Call Me By Your Name, which I'm not a huge fan of, the very end of it is Timothée Chalamet looking into a fire for the entirety of the credits for probably 2.5 minutes or something like that, somewhere around there. And it's a very affecting moment. It's a very interesting ending, and it's a very sentimental ending. The ending of this movie is every bit as heartstring pulling, if not more. In fact, I think it is more, because of the stakes involved, because of the background of these two characters. You will love this movie. There's nothing to not like about this movie. It is in French. You have to deal with the subtitles. Deal with it. It's fantastic. It's worth everything good that you've heard about. This is absolutely true. Pacing maybe could be a little bit better, but it's gorgeous, and I loved it, and I'm going to watch it a million times.
Nice.
Portrait of a Lady on Fire. My friend Chris Atkinson, you would love it. Jeremy, I think you would like this movie a lot. This would be something to watch with the wife. I'm actually planning on watching it with my wife because it's beautiful. It's lusciously shot. The landscape is beautiful. They're on the coast of northern France, so it's not like regular France that you see all over the place. And it's just, I don't know. It's just a very, very good movie.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to give you a double feature recommend. I listed it as a warn, but I've settled on a recommend.
Nice.
Now, Chris and Barrett have both given you recommends that are super strong, very fervent. Going to watch this a million times. Neither of these double feature movies I'm going to tell you about are like that. But I had a really good time. It was an accidental double feature. I'm flipping channels, and I see a recent movie, I think it's 2018, called I Think We're Alone Now. And I thought, oh, it's about that song from when I was a kid.
The Tiffany song?
Which was a remake of somebody else. And I read the description, and it says something about post-apocalypse. I see Peter Dinklage, and I see Fanning. And that's all it took. I click on it. So this movie is basically Peter Dinklage is the last survivor of an apocalypse that is never defined. And he's alone in this town. He's the only guy in his hometown that hasn't died. And basically every day he picks another house and he goes in and he deep cleans it and buries the bodies. So he's bit by bit going through cleaning up this town. And one day Elle Fanning shows up, and there were thought to have been no other survivors. And there's one thing I want to praise about this movie is there's never even any kind of a hint of like romance or attraction. One is a man, one is a girl, and a woman. And basically they start out as strangers. She shakes up his routine. He's crusty and grumpy and doesn't want her around. But, you know, it's nice to have human contact again. And slowly but surely they start forming a bond. She starts helping him clean houses. She finds his house, which he refuses to clean, and helps him clean it. And then Paul Giamatti and some woman show up and say that they're Elle Fanning's parents and they want to take her back home. And that's pretty much all I'm going to tell you. It's not necessarily a mystery. There's no spoilage really that I'm trying to avoid. It was just a decent character study of two lonely people making friends after the rest of the world is dead. So I'm flipping channels after that, and I come across another recent movie. I want to say 2016. What year was it? 2015, called Z for Zachariah.
How do you find these things?
Because I flip channels looking for new shit.
I think I've heard of. I Think We're Alone Now.
Wait till you hear this cast. It's got
right.
Chris Pine, Margot Robbie, and Chiwetel Ejiofor.
How do I not know about this movie?
This is a post-apocalyptic movie. In this one, it is known that it was nuclear radiation. And basically, Margot Robbie is living in this valley that, fortunately, has rocky cliffs and favorable weather patterns that kept the radiation from invading the valley. And she had a father who was a preacher and a brother, and they went off looking for survivors and never came back. So she's by herself in this place where she is able to grow crops. And all of a sudden, Chiwetel shows up, and he's, that she didn't think there were any other survivors. And it's basically a very similar concept in two people who are wary of each other slowly develop a relationship or friendship. And just as they're about to get to that flirty stage, Chris Pine shows up. And Chris Pine...
Damn it, Chris Pine.
Yeah, okay. Chris Pine shows up, and so Chiwetel is jealous. He does this. Don't ever do this, boys. He goes to Margot Robbie before anybody has ever said anything, and basically gives her permission to have a relationship with Chris Pine. Gives his blessing. And I was like, dude, you just took yourself out of the running right there. Anyway, the big grand idea that Chiwetel has, the water is radioactive, but he wants to build a water wheel because they have a generator, and he can bring electricity back to this house if they can get this water wheel going. But the only way to build the water wheel is to tear down the church. And Margot Robbie loves the church because her daddy was the preacher. So the two men basically convince her to tear down the church. They build this water wheel. And then Chiwetel and Chris Pine go out to hang the water wheel up on the cliff. Only one of them comes back. And I'm not sure the story he tells about the one that doesn't come back is true, but the movie doesn't really show you. And I once again, neither of these movies are A+, maybe in the B+ range, but I was very satisfied as a viewer. I didn't know where any of it was going to go. The actors, especially in this one, were phenomenal. It's based on a novel. I went and read about the novel. The novel sounds completely different. other than 3 survivors after a nuclear holocaust. But there you go. There's your post-apocalypse double feature of B+ movies.
My jam, man. That is awesome.
I believe Z for Zachariah was at Belcourt back in the day. I saw trailers for it. I didn't know what it was when you first mentioned it, but then when I popped over to the IMDb, I was like, oh yeah. I remember, because this was before Margot Robbie. I mean, she had done Wolf of Wall Street, but it was before she really sort of established herself after Wolf of Wall Street.
Yep.
So yeah, it was one of those things.
And this is Z for Zechariah was directed by Craig Zobel, who did The Hunt. This year.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And he's also, apparently, according to Wikipedia, one of the creators of Homestar Runner, which is a little internet cartoon that is much beloved. So there's a couple more reasons to check out that one, at least. But I enjoyed both of them. I like a good post-apocalypse movie.
Me too.
By the way, after seeing how you spelt Chiwetel and how you pronounce it,
it's Chiwetel, not Chiwetel.
Yes, Chiwetel.
Chiwetel.
Now, my guess is that even that, which is probably close to correct, it's not completely correct. Or maybe the Ejiofor is the one. I think the Ejiofor is the one that's got the slightly. That's the one that's, I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to remember which one it is. It might be the Ejiofor.
Well, apologies to him. He's a fine actor, and
yes, he is.
I like him. I like him in everything he's done.
The first time he says Chiwetel.
Yeah,
like it's a T, like a TE and an accent over the E. But like the first time I saw him was Dirty Pretty Things, and that's a really good movie. Don't know if you guys.
The first time I saw him.
I may have seen him before then, but that was the first time I remember. That was in 2002. And it has Audrey Tautou in it, and that's the main reason why I watched it.
I believe her name is pronounced Audrey Tutu.
Oh, you're probably right. And when I say those things, I'm not trying to be an asshole or anything.
I think Serenity was the first time I really took notice of Chiwetel.
Yeah, that was the movie itself, right? Because he's not. Is he in the show at all, or is he just in that movie?
No, he's just in the movie.
Watched a movie. We still do this movie club thing with a couple of my friends from Hollywood 27 days and everything. We just do it over Zoom, and we watch the movie on our own and then get on Zoom and talk about it. And one of these movies was a movie I saw at the Belcourt a few years ago when they were doing some, I don't know, they were showing some classic movies. I don't know if there was a theme to it or what, but Odd Man Out, 1947 movie directed by Carol Reed, who did The Third Man, and I know a lot of you out there love The Third Man. This movie, Odd Man Out, is ostensibly about the IRA, but they don't mention the IRA in this. They're careful to say this is not related to, even though it totally is, organizations, that are taking place in Northern Ireland right now. But James Mason plays the guy who is the head of this organization, and they have a plan. I think he's just come out of jail. He's just gotten out of jail, and they have a plan to rob either a bank or a post office or something like that. They have a plan to rob a bunch of money. And so a lot of people in this organization are a little worried about James Mason doing this job. They think he's changed a little bit. They don't think he's up for the task. But he overrules them, and he says, I'm going to do this with you guys. So he and a few guys go and they rob this place. And as they're trying to run away, a couple of either guards or policemen catch up to them and he accidentally kills one of the guards or policemen. And they didn't want to do this, obviously. They didn't want to kill anybody. But he also gets shot in the altercation. And he's unable to reach the getaway car. The getaway car sort of drives off without him. And I'm trying to remember if he gets in it and then he falls out. I think that's maybe what happens. He's in the getaway car and falls out of the getaway car. And the guy who's driving it is like, we can't go back for that guy. I mean, cops are on our tail and everything. And they're like, no, this is the leader of our organization. We've got to go back. They don't do it in time. And James Mason is basically left to fend for himself. And he's going around this town just shot. And after a while, he is known to be on the streets shot and, watch out for him, that type of thing. The movie you would think is about him. He needs to get back to his home, and he needs to get this bullet wound taken care of, and he'll be alive at the end. The movie really sort of veers from that. His journey is about what other people, how other people are affected by his injury and by his. There's the girl who loves him, who wants to track him down before he dies, because they're pretty sure he's just going to die, that there's no way that they're going to be able to reach him. But she wants to reach him and before he does, for obvious reasons. The cops obviously want him because he's a wanted man. But then there's other side characters. Of course, he has a reward for him if anybody catches him or has information leading to his capture and everything. So you have a homeless guy who's like, I'll turn him in for $10,000, obviously. But then he's being sort of talked out of it. There seems to be a real groundswell of support for what James Mason does and his organization. And so it seems like it's sort of half and half. If he runs into the wrong person, obviously he's going to be turned in, but he keeps running into people who just want to help him a lot or have the moral quandary of helping him and can't keep him very long. It's a very interesting movie. I mean, there's even a whole section where there's a guy who wants to paint him. He wants to paint James Mason. Have you seen this?
I have seen this, yes. I saw this fairly recently on TCM.
Oh, okay. There's a guy who wants to paint him. He wants to capture what it's like for someone to be in their last breaths. Jesus. And because he'll never get a chance like this again. It really is sort of how everybody else is affected. We all know that James Mason's going to die. It's just a matter of what other people can get out of him before he dies.
He's spectacular in this, by the way.
Oh, he is. Yes, very much so. This movie is shot so beautifully. It's great black and white stuff. It's one of those where there's beautiful works of art in the cinematography during this. There's one scene where the cops are almost about to capture him, and he's running through the streets of Dublin, and there's just these beautiful compositions, little street lights that you can see on the street, just in the distance and everything. He shoots this so well. People who are fans of Third Man would definitely like Odd Man Out, I'm sure.
Ugh, definitely. Wow. Yeah, this really surprised me because you never know what you're getting into with these late 40s, early 50s movies, even with big movie stars and good directors. But it was a late night thing, but I was compelled. I thought it was really, really good, really interesting story. And you're right, it isn't about him. He is the kind of driving force by which the rest of the environment reacts to him, and that's a very cool thing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
All right.
I'm all about the ladies today.
Ladies,
slightly different than the drama and the gravitas of Portrait of a Lady on Fire. I watched Fighting with My Family recently.
Oh.
And this is a goddamn delight, man.
Wow.
Yes, it is. This is a wrestling movie. You've probably seen the trailers a million times.
I remember the trailers.
It's basically a family full of wrestlers, super fans that do their own like local wrestling. They teach wrestling to kids, including a blind kid, which is really like tugs on your heartstrings and stuff like that. And Nick Frost is the patriarch. Lena Headey is the matriarch. There's one first scene where they're about 6 years old or so, and the brother attacks the sister. He's a little bit older. He attacks the sister, and she's like, "Oh no, he's got me! Like he's about to break my arm." And Lena Headey's like, "Well, what are you going to do to get out of it?" And so she like figures out a way to like sling him on the ground, and they're like, "Yeah, all right," and then just walk off. So yeah, the whole family is hilarious. They grow up in this wrestling environment, and they kind of make this their occupation. The two kids, later played by Florence Pugh from Little Women and from Midsummer fame and Lady Macbeth and everything, is playing this wrestler Paige, and Jack Loudon is playing her brother. And they find out they're in England. They're in northern England in this nowhere town. Stephen Merchant, who directed it, actually makes a cameo as one of the related families. And he's hilarious, too. And she ends up getting a chance to audition. They both do. The brother and the sister get a chance to audition for WWE. The Rock shows up and makes a cameo. And Vince Vaughn plays the talent coordinator, the guy who finds the wrestlers. And this is in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything. He ends up taking her instead of the boy, who is appreciably more strong and like has better moves. But they've always worked together. The brother and the sister have always done like their tandem thing. So there's a lot of drama in this movie. It is very funny, but there's a lot of drama in this, a lot of family drama and things like that. And so Florence Pugh's character, Paige, really has to navigate all the ins and outs of getting in shape. You know, she's done low-level wrestling work. She just has the charisma, and Vince Vaughn can see that. And eventually she works her way up to where she has a chance to get into the regular rotation of WWE. Now, I want to preface this by saying I could give a flying fucking fuck about WWE. I don't care about wrestling, never have. Did not realize, by the way, this is based on a true story. There is a wrestler named Paige who's from Northern England who did have this sort of experience, who did go through this talent scout, who did meet The Rock back in the day, back when he was actually a wrestler. And when the title, the epilogue cards come up at the end, they're like, Paige went on to win Divas, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh shit, that's an actual wrestler. But Florence Pugh plays her absolutely fantastic. They must have learned glow level moves for this movie. Now, keep in mind, this is one of 3 movies she put out last year, all incredibly different. She plays, the Midsummer character would set me back like 5 years just by that performance alone. The Little Women character I haven't seen yet, but I hear she's great in that. And then this one is physically demanding. She's got to be comedic. She's got to be a little bit dramatic. She's terrific in this. And Vince Vaughn, the last thing I'll say about it, Vince Vaughn is not, I think he's moved out of his Vince Vaughn phase. I think he's moved out of his swingers, wedding crashers, even what is the internship? What is the one that he did with Owen Wilson later on?
He did several. But yeah, internship is one of them.
Yeah, I think he's moved out of that, and I think he was ready to kind of move on to a different thing. He's done that Brawl on Cell Block 99, and then he did this where he's very, very toned down. He plays an ex-wrestler that was a journeyman that ended up getting hurt, and now this is what he does. And I kind of like this. It's like when I was mentioning, I like the new phase of Hugh Grant's career where he's playing like different roles and he can really just let loose. I feel like Vince Vaughn is doing that now. And I think there's enough talent there to where I think he can kind of spread his wings a little bit, and I'm down with it. He's great in this. I would totally recommend this movie.
By the way, and I'm not sure if we can actually talk about this movie, but he's in Arkansas as well, and he's really good in Arkansas.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet. But
you can talk about
awesome.
that movie.
This is a fun movie. I think you both would enjoy this movie. You're not breaking any new ground. Nick Frost is really, really good in this. Lena Headey is hilarious in this movie. She's like, winning a wrestling match is like doing cocaine, heroin, and ecstasy at the same time. And Florence Pugh is like, have you done those? And she's like, not at the same time.
I didn't see those trailers when they came out. I didn't even know that was her.
Me neither. Yeah.
So so when you brought this up, I was like, oh, really? That fucking movie? And then noticed that she was in it. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even know.
Yeah, it's got a great cast, and it's got a real touching story because they do come from kind of nothing. I mean, they're not like as bad as the Parasite House or anything like that, but they are, pretty much destitute. The father is an ex-con. The father and the mom love each other. They've attached at the hip. The brother and the sister love each other. It's just a very, very cool thing. And I was very surprised. And it's the fact that it's based on a true story. They actually have in the credits, they have the real people sitting down and talking about their lives. And the dad looks like Nick Frost in there with the mohawk and everything. He's like, yeah, I used to rob banks, man. And now I'm into wrestling. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a real thing.
Just looking at the email chain, Arkansas was embargoed until May 5th, so we're allowed to talk about it.
Oh, okay, good.
And it's actually already out on Blu-ray and DVD of that date as well. So
cool.
All right, I'm gonna bring you all down with a warn. With a warn.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of how good Keira Knightley is as an actress, flipping channels the other day, I see a movie called The Aftermath. It says World War II something something.
Oh yeah,
Keira
the
Knightley.
Dr. Dre album.
Yes. Keira Knightley. So I'm like, all right, well, there's probably a good chance that there'll be some adultery. This is about.
It's the only way I can get off anymore is if there's adultery.
This is about a British colonel or some such, and it's Jason Clarke and his wife, Keira Knightley, moving after World War II to the city of Hamburg because he's in charge of helping rebuild the city after World War II. They are placed in the home of a resident of the city, and this is Alexander Skarsgård, who's an architect, he and his daughter. But rather than kick them out onto the streets or make them go to a shelter, Jason Clarke was like, let's just let them live in the attic. It's a really big house. There's plenty of space. What could go wrong?
Right.
And then adultery.
Right.
And then keep in mind, this is Germany. This is just after World War II. So there are pockets of Nazi rebellions and uprisings. They've got these German servants from the architect's household serving the British Keira Knightley and making fun of her behind her back because she doesn't speak German. Basically, there's a little girl upstairs, of course, with Skarsgård, and catches the little girl downstairs playing the piano one day. And it's like, oh, we're supposed to stick to our spaces. And then she starts feeling guilty. And then one day she goes up to the attic when they're gone and she explores their space, which is very rude if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, she and Alexander Skarsgård are fucking.
Nice.
And this movie is boring.
Even with the fucking
is slow and boring. There's some stuff about Keira Knightley had a son with Jason Clarke that died during a blitzkrieg during the war. That's why she's emotionally distant from him. It's just like I was watching this the whole time, and my prominent thought was, how many movies has Keira Knightley been in where adultery is a prominent plot point? And I could come up with 4 or 5 just thinking about it. But I wasn't paying attention to the movie anymore.
Do it, because I can't think of any. What are they?
Well, the Anna Karenina.
Okay. All right.
God, now you're going to make me look like a jackass.
Pirates of the Caribbean, the second one, I guess.
Fuck off. Fuck off. Let me look.
No, she kisses Jack Sparrow, right? Even though she's with
that's
Orlando.
not technically adultery,
right.
but yeah.
Trying to help you
out. Let's see here. Well, atonement, I don't think is adultery, but it's still fucked up sex stuff.
I totally
which is basically the same thing. The Duchess. It feels like there's a lot of period pieces with some flirting and adultery. And her resume is littered with them. My point is, this movie is not entertaining enough to keep me from thinking up stupid shit to Google about one of the actresses in it. And I like World War II stuff, and I like adultery. I like good acting, but this movie couldn't get there for me. It is a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, so I felt quite vindicated in warning it instead of wreck-a-warning.
Yeah, I ran across this myself the other day. I didn't watch all of it. I just watched a scene where Jason Clarke and Keira Knightley, I guess, are just getting to the house, and Alexander Skarsgård's there with them, and I was like, "Oh, this might be good." And I looked up the guide, and I was like 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think 40% audience score too. It wasn't very good, but as I was flipping through too, this is tangentially related. I saw, I don't know if it was the same flip through, but like Twisted was on. You remember Twisted?
The Ashley Judd movie?
Ashley Judd movie. And
that movie's fucked up.
I've never seen Twisted. I've never seen it because it had bad reviews and everything like that. And I was like, I remember this had bad reviews. It's probably a low Rotten Tomato score. 1%. 1%.
That movie's bad.
Jeremy, Love
Yes,
Actually, not necessarily the adultery, but Chiwetel is in there, and she does kiss Rick Grimes, right? Even though she's married to Chiwetel. King Arthur, she plays Guinevere. She cheats on Arthur
adultery?
with Lancelot.
Thank you for doing my work for me.
Pride and Prejudice, I don't think she fucks anybody else, right?
Isn't Never Let Me Go? I never saw that, but isn't that a love triangle?
Yeah. I've actually seen that movie. She's I think she and Andrew Garfield are like they're just lovers, and Carey Mulligan wants to be with Andrew Garfield. I don't think there's any adultery or anything going on there. That movie is strange.
The Imitation Game, Cumberbatch is moved to cheat on her with other guys, and I don't know if she kind of moves out to her own thing too.
They have one of those like marriages where it's I think she knows that he's gay, and
yeah.
You know, I don't think it's anything where she's upset that he cheats on her or anything.
Yeah, because they're like friends by the end of it.
Yeah. That's going to do it for this week. Go to SinCast, presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We also have Twitter, Cinemasins Twitter, and Music Video Sins Twitter, and we have a SoundCloud, and we also have Discord. If you want to get on Discord, go to our Reddit page, and you can find a link on the right side there, or you can go to the Facebook page and private message me, and I can give you a link there. Oh, yeah, there's one other thing.
And also, we will be having, as far as merchandise goes, some of you people have been asking about Cinemasins merchandise. We are doing a whole merchandise process coming up soon. First things first, I'll eat your brains, and then I'll start rocking gold teeth and chains, because that's what a motherfucking monster do.
That's
Sorry,
right.
I just lapsed into Nicki Minaj's verse.
Yes, you did.
Kanye's Monster. First things first is a sale of our current merchandise. We're going to have discounts. We're going to slash prices. We're going to have discounts on our current merchandise that we're going to retire. Things like the Roll Credits t-shirt, things like the old Cinemasins shirt, things like the, the Prometheus School of running away from things. If you want that stuff and you haven't gotten it yet, you're going to have to get it soon, because we're going to have it on sale. We're going to retire it, and we're going to bring a whole bunch of other stuff in, and it's going to be dope. So, that'll be coming up soon. Stay tuned. Look at the channels. It'll be at the end of the videos soon.
Awesome. All right. Well, that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkinson, Jeremy Scott, and Barrett Scherer. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit Cinemasins.com.
Sudden crisp.
I think that was the second one. Because, because that stupid kid had a, I don't know, relationship with her. I don't know. Fuck.
He did like drawing black squiggles on paper, that's for sure.
I think that's what it is, because that kid has a more prominent role, and he's the one who's always fucking saying it.
I don't even know. They probably, at the end of the first ring, when Naomi Watts discovers the truth, I think they name her Samara, but they say it like twice, and then the whole second one is like, oh hey, you know Samara, right? She's the one that like kills people and makes their faces all fucked up.
Oh yeah,
you got Palpatine right over your shoulder there.
I do.
And Godzilla, man, you're on the wrong team.
Yeah, Godzilla is a good guy.
Godzilla's not always a good guy. He's not a good guy in Matthew Brun.
Well, he's a she in that one, right?
Yeah, he's a she. It's the females that are fucked up.
I finally got Disney Plus. We got a new TV because our bed TV busted. So I finally got Disney Plus. And
shit, and Louisville wasn't even playing.
I know, right?
That's more a joke on me than it is you, though.
And I was gonna watch. I was like, "Oh, The Rise of Skywalker is on there." Let's say, and Hudson was like, "Hey, I want to watch it," and I was like, "Okay." And then I was like, "Well, let's fast forward to like a good part." And I was like, "Well, let's fast forward to another good part," and it was like 4 parts. Like that I ended up fast forwarding to, and we were done in like 20 minutes.
But now you can watch the Hamilton on July 3rd, baby.
Oh, that's gonna be so awesome!
Oh, are they really doing that on Netflix
They are.
that early?
Disney Plus, yeah, they've decided, with the virus and whatnot, instead of waiting till fall of 2021 or whatever, they're going to put it on Disney Plus.
I don't even understand why they were waiting that long. It's fucking. They shot this. It's already done, right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Cocksuckers.
Oh my god!
So
I'm going to watch it like so many times, though.
A month and a half, and then I'm going to watch it every day for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Doom.
Have you seen the Capone reviews? The Tom Hardy reviews?
I saw one headline that made it sound like a batshit crazy movie.
It's Josh Trank, the guy that did Chronicle and then did Fantastic Four. Van Forstic, yeah. But yeah, apparently, like, I mean, these reviews are just brutal, and it's not even like they're trying to be like an asshole to this guy or anything like that. Tom Hardy, apparently, he plays Capone when he moves to Florida in the last year of his life when he's got dementia, and apparently he's like shitting himself and like doing all kinds of disgusting things. And that's what the reviews say. Like, this is the most grotesque thing that you've seen outside of like a John Waters film or something like that. And Josh Trank got on Twitter and said that one of those quotes was going up like framed in his office or something like that. So apparently he's leaning into it.
Didn't Trank have like a world-class meltdown after Fantastic Four or during it or something? Wasn't that him?
Oh, really?
He had some meltdown, didn't he?
I don't know.
Trank,
he certainly takes bad criticism well.
He does, or are you saying that sarcastically?
I'm saying I remember about 6 months ago, he sent out a tweet that went viral about making a shitty superhero movie where he was sort of like owning Fantastic Four being bad. And then, if he's wanting to take these quotes from Capone and frame them on his wall, at least, he doesn't give a shit.
Oh, he actually does take it well, yeah.
There was something during that whole Fantastic Four.
You never know with Miles Teller on set.
It's true. It's true.
It was Michael B. Jordan, Miles Teller. Who were the other two?
Kate Mara and Billy
Reed.
Elliot.
There's a story from Polygon 7 days ago that says after what happened after Fantastic Four broke Josh Trank.
Ooh.
On August 7th, 2015, hours before his $150 million comic book reboot Fantastic Four opened on 3,995 North American screens, director Josh Trank smashed the self-destruct button. A year ago, I had a fantastic version of this, he tweeted in blind rage, and it would have received great reviews. You'll probably never see it. That's reality, though.
I'm looking at you, by the way. I've got you on this screen, so if it doesn't look like I'm looking at you over here.
If it doesn't look like I'm looking at you, it's because I'm looking at naked ladies.
Sweet.
Naked ladies.
Bare naked ladies?
Nope. Just
just
I
naked.
wonder how much, what do you call it, porn has gone up over this whole thing.
I'm sure bazillions of downloads and watches and dollars. Mm-hmm. All of the uptick. That's probably the most booming industry in the world.
Here's the thing, though. You have to go on all of the existing porn that's out there, though, right? Because you can't make new porn right now.
No, dude,
Anybody
the
making
whole
new
rage
porn-
in porn is like homemade porn. Like the porn stars are on the way out. The amateur stars are the real stars now.
So you got to have two people that are quarantined together, I guess.
Yeah, but Pornhub is full of that kind of stuff. Like
Well,
you can create your own Pornhub channel just like YouTube and make money based on how many views and ads run on your video.
Not only that,
how do you make money on Pornhub, though?
Yes,
there's ads.
There's ads on Pornhub?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I don't think I've ever seen an ad.
There's ads, and there's even. I mean, they're all skippable, of course, but but there's ads.
Get out of my way.
Yeah, you don't want to frustrate masturbators. But like,
or do you?
Exactly. But like, even porn stars themselves are saying we're going to this homemade type of thing because it's the only way to do it. I can't remember what story I saw. Was it a document? I don't know if it was a documentary, if it was just a news story, but
was it the one about the Zoom orgy that I sent everybody?
That's right.
It was not that, but there was I think it was like Tory Black or somebody like that was saying, this is where I'm going in the future, and that was at a convention. It was at a Vegas convention. She said that she's like, I'm going to just do stuff from home because it's the best way to do it, and plus it's probably safer.
Well, it is probably safer. You don't have to deal with a manager, a director. Although I guess it would look better if you've got a director. You know what I mean? Like, if you've got a director that knows what they're doing, like a production manager and stuff like that. But if all the rage is doing it from home anyway, and it's getting clicks, then you might as well have somebody that's used to doing triple anal or whatever.
Right. And there are only a lot of these porn stars that triple anal. That's the next Netflix movie right there is triple anal.
It's like Triple Frontier.
Yeah. Except with, Or they're like, hey, get your head out of the gutter. It's just about a guy who's really, 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 really stringent about the rules.
Look, can I just say that this Snowpiercer show that they keep advertising that seems like it's never going to come out, I'm really troubled because the train is going the wrong direction.
Oh, really?
Huh. Oh, it's
just
going
compared
right to the left?
Yes, just compared to the movie. The whole movie, it went left to right. Almost all the camera work was from that perspective. And in the show, it's the exact opposite, and it's driving me kind of crazy. And I think that's
out
silly.
Yet?
No, it's not out yet. But I watch Friends on TBS in the background every day, and they've been running commercials for this shit for 2 months solid. I don't know when it comes out.
There's a couple of like famous people in this, right?
Daveed Diggs, Hamilton, and Jennifer Connelly.
Ooh.
Oh, wow. Jennifer Connelly.
Hey,
Jennifer
how old
Connelly's
is
playing like
Jennifer Connelly right now?
How
49.
what? Yeah, she's
49?
like close to 50, but like the most banging 50 since Renee, what's her name, in the Stealing the Painting movie.
Renee Russo, Thomas Crown Affair.
Yes.
You know what I caught the other day was In the Line of Fire, speaking of Rene Russo.
Oh
yeah.
There's a scene in there where she and Clint get so horned up for each other.
Yeah, they do.
They start taking off all their equipment and all that shit. And she's on top of them. They're ready to get it on.
Yeah, that's my favorite line in the whole movie.
She gets a call. Yeah. She gets a call and has to leave. And he's like, now I got to put all that shit back on.
Yep.
All right. Yeah. Chairman Mao is not a good dude. And neither is Lenin and fucking Marx. Well,
Yeah.
Marx, and Stalin and all those guys. Those are not my kind of guys.
Right.
So I started the Mandalorian, man. That show's awesome.
Yeah, good show.
Yeah, I just did the first 2 episodes, but looks really good. I did get a 4K. I didn't get it anywhere near the level that you got because I got it on sale and everything. But it does look really, really good for Disney Plus.
Yeah. And they, I don't know, actually have not been to Disney Plus often since Mandalorian.
There's not really
I watched that Anna Kendrick Christmas movie that they made where she's like Fred Claus or something. I don't remember she's the next. They think that her brother is the next in line because only men can be Santa Claus, but she's obviously the one that really knows Christmas and should be Santa Claus and everything, but she has to go down to Earth and, I don't know, figure that out for herself or something. I saw that movie on there, and I think I saw one other thing. And then every time I've tried, I'll be like, oh, I can go to Disney Plus and watch this because Disney's got their whole library on there. And you try to watch Angels in the Outfield, and they're like, fuck you, Chris. You think we'd really put Angels in the Outfield on our Disney Plus platform? Fuck you. So,
is that not on there? Seriously?
Nope. I watched the movie on YouTube.
Oh shit! They're waiting to put their entire, even well-known catalog on there. They're just doing Marvel and Star Wars and prominent Fox stuff right now.
I don't really know, honestly. I just know that the Angels in the Outfield is the one movie that I wanted to see off the platform, and it didn't have it. So,
motherfuckers.
I don't know whether or not that means, you can't find the fucking animated Robin Hood or something like that. You can't, I don't know if that's the case, but I'm assuming most anything Disney you can find on Disney Plus. It just happens to be that one you couldn't.
Just Angels in the Outfield.
Yeah.
That's like after I hurt my knee and the dude at the parking lot finally drove off and I yelled, yeah, fuck you, buddy. And the dude behind him that was walking back to his car was like, not you, friend. And he was like, oh, I get it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know.
Exchange.
I know.
Not you, friend.
I know I'm not the asshole here.
Don't call me buddy, friend.
Yeah. You guys are dicks.